Morning guys, I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters and the Pathfinder School. What I'm doing today is I brought the Robens Green Cone 4 tent out today. And I didn't really bring it out here to do a review on it necessarily. I wanted to set it up for the first time myself before I actually take it out to spend time in it. My wife and I are going to do a overnight beach camp on a beach, and we're going to do some metal detecting and some other things while we're out there. But we're going to take a fairly large tent because she likes to have room to change clothes and privacy and things like that. So this is a 4-man tent. It's a 4-man, 1-pole design. I'm really fond of the way it looks and the way it sets up. It took me a little bit of time to figure out a couple tricks that I will use next time so I can avoid the initial setup blues, as it were, of not knowing exactly what you're doing. But I learned that during this setup, and we're going to talk about a couple of those things throughout the video. But what I want to show you is basically what it looks like when it's completed and talk you through some of the features of this tent, because it does have some very nice features that I like really well that I'd like to discuss with you and show you before we actually do an overnighter in this tent. So stay with me guys, we're going to get this bad boy erected from the ground up. Okay guys, so now that we've got this bad boy set up and erected, let's talk about some of the features that I showed in video clips while we were putting the tent up. And the first one is you've got this high vent on the top of the 1-pole, and it's actually on both sides of the tent. And you can actually close that down, it kind of Velcro shut to kind of cut some of the wind, or you can open it all the way up and it's got kind of a stay in here to hold it open to trap some wind and also let moisture escape out of the tent if you got everything closed in really tight. You've got a nice big vestibule on the outside of this tent where you can put shoes, backpacks, things like that. But because you've got a 4-man tent, if you've only got 2 people, if it's your wife and you, or one of your children and you or something like that, or even a small family, your wife and 1 child, this tent is so huge, it's unbelievable for the size it packs down to. We'll talk about that in a minute. It's not a backpacking tent by any means, but you could easily hike this thing in a mile or 2 if you needed to from a car to a campsite by a lake or something like that for a weekend. The size of this vestibule makes it really good for storage of equipment. It's also dry. The entire vestibule is made from the fly, okay? You've got those same dog bones that most tents have here to hold the doors open. And then you just fold it over, and it's got a really nice covering over the top of the zipper to keep water out of there. Down here at the bottom, it has an elastic bungee here that can actually be put over the top of that stake to hold that in place if you wanted to when you close this from the inside. You can reach out from underneath, hook that bungee to the stake, and it will keep everything secure so nothing has a chance of opening this up in the wind or something like that, or stretch of the material is not going to pull this open on you. But that's just a feature. And then you also have each one of these tie downs that ties this thing down to the ground level also has a tensioning strap on it as well to tension things up and give you adjustments here and there during the setup of this tent. Okay, let's talk about the inside of this tent really quick. You've got a nice sectional pole here that's adjustable for height, so you can get this thing right where you want it. It's got a nice reinforced pocket in the top that this pole goes into, and it's got another dog bone and circle here that connects the tent directly to the peak here, so that when you lift the pole up, you're lifting the tent and the fly at the same time. Now, all the way around this tent, at each one of these seam lines, you have another dog bone and loop. And you actually have two of those. You have one up high, you have one down low, and then you have the bathtub clip that we'll talk about here in a minute. And so you just clip these together. Now, one thing that I found out was, obviously when it's new, none of this is connected. And for setup of this tent, unless you were trying to dry it out and you want to take the fly completely off to dry everything out, if you were packing this down to go camping, it is much easier to leave this fly connected because you've got two of these connections at every seam all the way around the fly. So you've probably got 10 or 12 of those connections that you have to put in. And doing them after you put the fly on, getting underneath the fly and connecting them is a hot chore if the weather is like it is right now in Ohio. However, you already got it connected, none of that matters. And then it's easily disconnected if you need to take it off to dry it out, or you want to take it off during the day to let the tent air out, whatever the case may be, it's easy enough to get off. Okay, so let's talk about some ground level stuff here. We've got a couple of different stakes here that we can use to, or tie out lines, excuse me, that we can use to stretch this tarp out and give us some space in there for breathability, things like that. It also increases the floor space inside the tent, obviously, because as you're tensioning this, you are pulling out on the tent where it's connected to the fly. But this is what I wanted to show you here is the way this connects to the bathtub. So around this tent at every point where there's a stake, and these stake tie outs are a reinforced triangle of material, basically with a stay in them to stand that bathtub up. So you've got about a 6-inch bathtub all the way around this tent. I like that a lot. And there's, like I said, there's a hard solid stay in there to hold that straight up. And then a triangle of fabric there with a tie out loop on it. And then once you've got that all connected on the inside, you've got all your dog bones connected. Now you come back and you connect this directly to the bathtub and you can cinch it down. And then use your stakes to pull everything out where you want it, tighten everything up the way you want to. And you can use both of these guy lines to do that. Again, pulling the tent out and giving you more floor space. And there are two of these guy lines at each staking point on the tent, as well as the stake loop itself on the tent. So you really have a lot of security here for a high wind scenario. Okay, so let's talk real quick about how this tent comes. It comes in its own compression bag that's really, really nice. Still nylon with the Robens logo on the bottom. You have a bag that has the poles and a bag that has the stakes. There's also a repair kit in the bag of stakes. I got a couple stakes left over. They give you a couple extras. And I've got a repair kit that comes with the tent inside that bag as well. So that's your stake and repair kit bag. And then you have, again, a bag for your pole, your 3-section pole, and a main bag that has direction on how to set the tent up. Now, this is probably the only thing that I would say leaves a little bit to be desired. Setting this tent up is not as simple as what it shows here in 4 easy diagrams, but it will get you there if you understand the setup of any normal tent. This will get you there. Okay, guys, well, I appreciate you joining me today for this quick look at this Robens tent. This is the Green Cone 4, which means it's a 4-man tent. Plenty big for a small family or for you and your wife. Or if you're just setting up a base camp and you've got conveyance like an ATV, a 4-wheeler, or your Jeep, something like that, and you're going to be there for a little while and you want plenty of room, this tent's probably for you. Let me give you the specs off of the tent sleeve itself. It'll be easier for me that way. All right, so first off, the weight is 5.2 kilograms. It is 5,000 micron material as far as the waterproofness of it. It is 195 by 165 on the inner and 145 high. All that is probably centimeters. All that out. It is, the fly sheet itself is a 75D and the inner tent is 68D. It's all 100% ripstop polyester. It seems to be a very nicely made unit. All the tie outs are heavy duty. All the tie out points and stake loops, all of that stuff are really heavy duty. It's got a really nice reinforcement for the single pole. The single pole folds down very nicely and it comes with 3 bags as we've shown, 1 bag for the tent, 1 bag for the pole, and 1 bag with a repair kit in it or the stakes. It comes with all the stakes, all the tie outs, everything that you need to set the tent up. And it does have a bathtub style floor that's about 6 inches high. All in all, you know, from not using this tent for an overnight yet and just basically setting it up to check it out and make sure that I understand how to set it up, take it down when I do decide to go out and use it, which is going to be next week. I'm pretty impressed with it so far. So again, this is not really a review. It's just a, you know, a first look or a first glance at this tent. Now that it's been set up and roughed up a little bit by me trying to set it up and pulling here and pulling there to get things right. Again, lessons learned. Like I said, I would just connect the fly to the tent before setup. That way you don't have to hassle with it after you set it up to connect all those toggles and loops together to connect the fly to the tent itself. And then just fold it up and leave it that way in the sleeve. Unless, of course, like I said, you need to separate it to dry it out, something like that. Guys, I appreciate your views. I appreciate your support. I thank you for everything you do for our school, for our family, for our business, all our sponsors, instructors, affiliates, and friends. I got a lot more videos to come in the future, so stay with me. Be patient. I don't upload videos on a consistent basis very well on a certain day of the week at a certain time. Maybe I should start doing that, and that would allow people to know that videos are going to be there at a certain time when they go looking for them, because from what I've heard, YouTube has pretty much quit their notification process unless you download some type of an app through Google, like Chrome or something like a YouTube app on your phone. Then you'll still get notifications. But as far as the email notification part of it goes, I think they're doing away with that now. So if you're looking for my videos, you're either going to have to just look, or I'm going to have to start uploading them on a certain day at a certain time. And that's going to get very difficult for me when I start traveling after this whole COVID-19 thing subsides and I'm not home as much as I am right now. But anyway, I appreciate everything you do for me, guys. And thanks for watching my videos. Thanks for hanging tough with me for the last, what's it been, almost 13 years now on YouTube. Right at 13 years on YouTube now. A long time. So, and lots of videos and lots of views. And I really appreciate you guys. Again, thanks for everything. I'll be back as soon as I can. Thanks, guys.